Welcome to Tradition 10. This will be real quick and painless. Spiritual principle of Tradition 10 is perseverance, and I did not look that up. You think I would look up the meaning of that word? Okay, Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy, disagreement. See, maintenance, vigilance, mindfulness, fair-mindedness. Never since it began has Alcoholics Anonymous been divided by a major controversial issue, nor has our fellowship ever publicly taken sides on any question in an embattled world. Embattled means having a lot of problems or difficulties. This, however, has been no earned virtue. It could almost be said that we were born with it, for, as one old-timer recently declared, practically never have I heard a heated religious, political, or reform argument among AA members. So long as we don't argue these matters privately, it's a cinch we shall never shout publicly. As by some deep instinct, we AAs have known from the very beginning that we must never, no matter what the provocation, publicly take sides in any fight, even a worthy one, sorry. All history affords us the spectacle of striving nations and groups finally torn asunder because they were designed for or tempted into controversy. Okay. All history can give us an example of a very striking display of groups that have been ripped apart because they were set up or tempted into, or either set up for or tempted into opposing conflicting views and values. Others fell apart because of sheer self-righteousness while trying to enforce upon the rest of mankind some millennium of their own specification. Okay, some fell apart because hypocrisy. I mean, it's easy to see other people's shortcomings, you know. Millennium means 1,000. In our own times, we have seen millions die in political and economic wars, often spurred by religious and racial difference. That's happening right now. We live in the imminent possibility of a fresh Holocaust to determine how men shall be governed. Okay, we live in the very likely about to happen possibility of a mass destruction uh, so that they can determine how who's going to be power struggle and how the products of nature and toil shall be divided among them. So who's going to get this land? Who's going to get this service? And they're fighting for it. That is the spiritual climate in which AA was born. It is so much the spiritual climate now in 2020, the end of 2024 with the wars. Yeah, and by God's grace has nevertheless flourished. I think we flourish more when there's something to be overcome. Let us reemphasize that this reluctance to fight one another or anybody else is not counted as some special virtue which makes us feel superior to other people. Nor does it mean that the members of Alcoholics Anonymous, now restored as citizens of the world, are going to back away from their individual responsibilities to act as they see right upon issues of our time. So we're not trying to cause any controversy in our group. Most of us don't have a hard problem doing it outside of the group. But when it comes to AA as a whole, that's quite a different matter. In this respect, we do not enter into public controversy because we know that our society will perish if it does. We conceive the survival and spread of Alcoholics Anonymous to be something of far greater importance than the weight we could collectively throw back of any other cause. Okay, so we believe that AA is more important as a humanitarian cause, not to mention our lifeline. We can make a bigger impact there than anywhere else, being an alcoholic. Since recovery from alcoholism is life itself to us, it is imperative that we preserve in full strength our means of survival. It's critical that we preserve it in full strength. Right? We water it down when we bring a lot of other issues into the mix. Maybe this sounds as though the alcoholics in AA had suddenly gone peaceable and become one great big happy family. Of course, this isn't so at all. Human beings that we are, we squabble. Before we leveled off a bit, AA looked more like one prodigious squabble than anything else, at least on the surface. Hmm. I just got some memories. A corporation director who had just voted a company expenditure of $100,000 would appear at an AA business meeting and blow his top over an outlay of $25 worth of needed postage stamps. Okay, so a guy came from his job, okay, where he didn't have a problem authorizing a whole lot of money here at his work, but when he came to an AA business meeting, he was way more nitpicky and way more, I don't want to say afraid. Disliking the attempt of some to manage a group, half its membership might angrily rush off to form another group more to their liking. Well, that's another way to a group. Yeah. Elders or old timers temporarily turned Pharisee have sulked. Okay, so the old timers for a moment became so proud of themselves, overly proud of themselves. Pharisee is a slang of a person who's very proud of the fact they have high religious moral standards. Okay, they pouted. Bitter attacks have been directed against people of mixed motives. I didn't think of anything there. Despite their din, our puny rose never did AA a particle of harm. Okay, despite their loud noise, our little arguments never harmed AA at all. They were just part and parcel of learning to work and live together. Of course, I don't have that. Part and parcel. Just part of it growing up. Let it be noted, too, that they were almost always concerned with ways to make AA more effective, how to do the most good for the most alcoholics. So, we have a lot of clash personalities, if we're all trying to help and everyone has their idea of what helping is, and they want to impose their ideas on the rest of the group because they don't want to lose, they're afraid to lose their sobriety and they're afraid to lose their home group, and so they become controlling with the best of intentions. Controlling will always cause chaos. The Washingtonian Society, which is the Washingtonian Temperance Society, 19th century temperance fellowship, founded in 1840 by 6 alcoholics in Baltimore, Maryland. It lasted a few years because they were accused of heresy. I don't know. It's a movement among alcoholics which started in Baltimore a century ago, almost discovered the answer to alcoholism. At first, the society was composed entirely of alcoholics trying to help one another. That's good. The early members foresaw that they should dedicate themselves to this sole aim. In many respects, the Washingtonians were akin to AA of today. Their membership passed the 100,000 mark. That's a lot back then. Had they been left to themselves and had they stuck to their one goal, they might have found the rest of the answer. If the one goal is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve and maintain sobriety. But this didn't happen. Instead, the Washingtonians permitted politicians and reformers, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic, to use the society for their own purposes. Abolition of slavery, for example, was a stormy political issue then. Soon, Washingtonian speakers violently and publicly took sides on this question. Maybe the society could have survived the abolition controversy, but it didn't have a chance from the moment it deterred to reform America's drinking habits. So we believe it would have survived if they made their primary purpose. They didn't deviate from their primary purpose and involve a bunch of other stuff that outside issues, outside controversy. When the Washingtonians became temperance crusaders, within a very few years, they completely lost their effectiveness in helping alcoholics. So I think crusaders, they go out and they say, hey, here's a leaflet. Hey, and they're promoting and trying to get people to get sober. The lesson to be learned from the Washingtonians was not overlooked by Alcoholics Anonymous. As we surveyed the wreck of that movement, early AA members resolved to keep our society out of public controversy. Thus was laid the cornerstone for Tradition 10. Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues. Hence, the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. We still have our personal opinions. Everyone's allowed to have their personal opinions. But we're not going to let our personal opinions destroy a group out of selfishness. That's all. 15 minutes. That was easy.